Your genes are worth a lot of money. Researchers would love to know more about your genetics so they could theoretically cure disease or make a nice profit. And now having your genetic results is something you can do at home, with the FDA approving companies like 23andMe to start giving you information about your genetics from a simple saliva sample. For a premium, of course. They will tell you who your ancestors are, what diseases you are at risk for, and a number of other things, like how much coffee you need to drink to stay awake. And although this sounds great, genetics isn't always this simple. So that brings up the question, do you really want to know what's in your DNA? For many people, the answer is an obvious yes. For example, some people have a gene for a defective heart protein that leads them to having hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, where their heart just gets too large and starts not to function properly. You might have seen clips of athletes, in perfect health condition, suddenly falling over and dying. These athletes are in tip-top shape, but having this condition results in a heart that doesn't function properly during intense exercise. If they knew they had this condition from a genetic screening early on in life, they could have known to avoid intense exercise and their early demise. In this case, having this X-linked gene leads directly to the disease. In other cases, it isn't so clear. For example, there is a disease called Ankylosing spondylitis, a miserable disease where the spine fuses together and the patient endures horrible pain. Of the people who have this disease, 90% have a gene for the protein HLA-B27, so you would want to know if you had this gene, but genetics isn't always that simple. Approximately 9% of the Caucasian male population have this gene, and if you do, you only have a 2% chance at best, or worst, of getting this disease. Confusing, right? 90% of people with the disease have the gene, but having the gene only leads to the disease 2% of the time. In this case, it isn't simply genetics leading to the disease, with more factors in play. Some researchers think it's environmental factors, like diet, lifestyle, and maybe even an infection with a virus that influences your disease outcome, giving us gene plus environmental factor leading to disease. But even that's not the full story. In ankylosing spondylitis, if one identical twin gets the disease, the other only has a 60% chance of getting it. Two twins with the same genetics growing up in the same household and thus the same environment, yet they both don't always get the disease. So now we are left with gene plus environmental factor plus bad luck leading to disease. Would you really want to know you had this gene and live in horror your whole life, only to know you have a 2% chance of getting this disease, but that almost everyone with the disease has this gene? Would you want to wake up every day worried? That brings us to some reservations with companies that want to analyze your genes. They want to create a world of personalized medicine, where everyone knows what they are at risk for and can take action to prevent it. In order for us to get meaningful results, we will need to get almost everyone's genetic data from all different ethnicities and combine this data into a database so that we can analyze it and figure out which genes lead to which disorders. Since genes mean different things in different ethnicities. But not everyone is comfortable with their genetic data being out there, lest someone try to sell it, or even worse, discriminate against you because of certain genes you have. Even if you knew exactly what genes you had in your cells, it gets once again more complicated, with things like epigenetics and penetrance making the equation even more difficult to navigate. Drop a like down below if you want a video explaining these concepts. For some, the answer is obvious. Tell me about my genes and save my life. For others, it's a bit more complicated. But for now, genetic analysis is out there for consumers like you and I to use. And the question is, do you really want to know? Thank you for watching. Please share this video with your friends to see if they want to know about their genetics and subscribe for more videos.